Welcome everybody to the Spanner Sculpture Garden. We're situated in the southern eastern side of the Mallee, and Mallee is our typical timber around here, and this farm has been operating since 1876. And my grandfather came out here from Switzerland and walked up here from Melbourne and selected the land, and that was the beginning of this property. We leased the land back in 2000 due to drought, and I've been sculpting ever since that time. And the sculptures are in a 2-acre garden, so you'll see those as you're walking around. And the biggest one I've made is probably the horse and cart. This is my sentimental sculpture. It's a tabletop wagon and a Clydesdale. My grandfather bought a tabletop wagon similar to this in 1895, and my dad had Clydesdale horses up until 1937, and he sold them then and bought 2 Twin City tractors. So that was the changeover on this property in 1937 from horsepower to tractor power. The wagon weighs roughly 3.5 tonne, and there's probably about 6,000 spanners all involved. I contracted polio back in 1949 when I was 8 years old, and I was in hospital for 3 years during that period of initially having polio, and then I came home from hospital and I jumped 1 year because there was no schooling in those days when you were in hospital, so for 3 years I didn't have any schooling, so I jumped 1 year when I came back, and so I started off 2 years. I was always 2 years older than every other person in my grade, and so that's where I went to the Boort School for my education. I weld them all in this workshop where you can see from behind me where I'm sitting. There's a lot of spanners and they're all in their sorted areas, so I know where to go to get them when I need them, and they're all moved around as I start to make the sculpture. I get quite heavy, so I start using block and tackles, and that's how I move them and manipulate them into a position where I weld them. And all the sculptures that I make them from a design that I've already predetermined in my head, and that's all done from that image in my head. I don't have any pencil drawings or photos or measurements to design and make my sculptures. It's all as I just see them in my head, and it's all done from that image. So, and up until now, I'm working on the latest one, which is number 133. I do a little nut with a brass infill on every sculpture. That's my signature on everything that I make. And everything I make, I try to make as a one-off, so I don't repeat anything that I make. Well, this is my blade shearer, and he took me 6 months to make. So he's just representing the old-time shearer with the blade shearing a merino ram. And he's made entirely of spanners, of course. So a lot of things that don't really look like a spanner, necessarily they are. So the shears that he's using are made out of 4 spanners. When you all came up the driveways, you would have seen a lot of old machinery, and that's all relevant to the Mallee farmer that used those sorts of machines in the early days. So they were all horse-drawn machines that I collected. And they mainly came from the Mallee farmers having their clearing sales. And so that's a complete collection of all the Mallee type machines that we use, basically. And as you walk around the garden, you'll also see quite a few different birds. Macaw parrots, I introduced those to the property here in 1993, and another lot I got from England in 96, and so I've bred quite a few macaws over the time. And there's also the pheasants, which you'll see, there's peacocks, and there's guinea fowl and a few other birds that you'll see as you walk around the garden. So this is my buck jump rider, and he's just won his event. That's why he's holding his hat up high, and it took me 6 months to build this one. So he's standing on his back legs, obviously, which are just on the surface of the concrete, and the tail is embedded in the concrete, and that's the only thing holding him up. 5 feet deep where the tail is, so that's a lot of concrete. I go to swap meets to buy all my spanners, and I pay around about $2 a spanner for those ones. I don't buy new ones at the swaps, only the old ones. And up until now, I've bought about 124,000 spanners. This is my Fabergé egg, and there's about 4,500 spanners involved. So it took me nearly 6 months of construction work, and once it's all been completed in the workshop, they're carried out here with my tractor, which has got hay forks on it, and that's placed in position. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed the walk around the garden, or will enjoy the walk around the garden. So I hope you've enjoyed your trip, and we'll carry on and see more things that are of interest in the Bort and Loddon Shire.